Veni, veni, oh amor mio. Veni, amor mio. Veni, amor mio. I can't help but think the Virginia Department of Corrections pays attention to the farms. In an absolute miracle of magistration, Boss Man Jack has been released on extended probation. Feels good, man. The only problem is he likely will very much want to do drugs when he gets out. And that's a hinge point. That is a crossroads. He can either choose to let that be his main wake-up call, or it's just going to be another cycle like the last one, leading to him eventually getting even more prison time. Like, if he had gotten prison for this, I would have suspected about a year and a half after everything was said and done, with the behavior expected of him, which is good. If he fails this probationary run, he's going to get like 3 years. So, like, he better take this seriously, because we all love Boss Man. Really, truly. He could be a very, very interesting, funny, almost semi-celebrity, a B-list, beloved by regular people, and not invited to, making him even better, not invited to, like, the Epstein parties and stuff like that. Boss Man could do anything, and he's very funny, and he's got a great drive. As I said, it's just the focus. He lacks focus. And I think the biggest thing would be, like, to literally, like, harass, like, Derek Christmas or whatever the heck to make him, like, not sell Boss Man drugs. I think that would actually be a viable plan, and I don't think that would be considered cow tipping at all. I think that would be considering, like, hunting the coyotes around the cow enclosure in a way. So I hope that something like that happens. He hasn't really been without drugs for long, so we do have to worry about, like, the actual physical, not just the psychological or the spiritual, which he probably doesn't have a spiritual drug desire like he used to when he was younger for whatever reason. But he still has psychological, as in most of his memories are steeped in being high on drugs, and therefore it's going to be very hard for him to adjust to a non-drug lifestyle. Everything that he does that he used to do on drugs will not feel as real, and it will sap his motivation and make him specifically focus on wanting to get back to the drugs. But that is exactly how drugs earn their reputation for addiction. It's the way that they rewire your brain. It's the way that they get you to rewire your brain specifically around them. And people with functioning drug addictions literally know how to avoid this having happened to them and take steps in order to, compartmentalize their drug use instead of having their drug use take over every other part of their life, which is what happens with, unfunctioning drug use. Smugness is fake. Whenever somebody is smug, it's because they're trying to project superiority. But when one lords over in a genuine way, they are stoic and dour. And when one discovers they are genuinely... And when one discovers things, they genuinely are alike to the stereotypical scientist, proclaiming how fascinating things are, and basically being too intrigued with the passion of learning to bother with such things as interacting with a perceivedly domineering personality. It's just not a valued function of their way to spend their time, when an actual scientific mind is actually doing science and actually... But you get this smug, oh, I know so much better, which is literally a facade. It's a bluff. And that's exactly why smugness is fake, is because smugness is the mechanism by which one bluffs when one does not have genuine confidence. And, as wise men have said before, the universe abhors smugness. If you act smug, it's like sending out a beacon for the universe to screw you up. Best believe. In fact, that's what effectively, like, say what you want about this person lying or that person doing dirty or this person or Null getting papers wrong. Say what you want. Ultimately, I accept the fact that I got smug late 2022. I got smug. Okay? I had recognized people loved me. I was important on the website. I got smug. I wandered into areas I didn't belong. I started punching tar babies left and right. Legitimately, that's how that went down. And the people who hated me the entire time, specifically because they are on the opposite side of my goals, which are ultimately both pragmatic and altruistic. I try to be on the good, lawful alignment chart sort of spectrum, you know. The people who ultimately hated me from the beginning use that as an opportunity to take advantage. It's as simple as that. Speaking of smugness, for instance, Randy Fine is like herpes on the face of Zionism. He's going to be the gift that keeps on giving. Just one of the many gifts bestowed upon humanity through DeSantis' blessed governance of Florida. Fine comes from my backyard, by the way. He lives in literally my county. Well, he did. He probably lives in D.C. now with all the rest of the politicians. And naturally, he is a, like, you probably read state projects where the state decides for a period of time, usually influenced by entire other countries, in this case Israel, that this state is going to go in a direction unlike what it did in the past, unlike what its neighbor states are doing, and unlike what like 40 to 60% of the population of the state wants to do. That project reaches its conclusion, it crashes, things go relatively back to normal with a little bit of scarring from said project. And in the time of that project's peak, you see weird things manifesting in alignment with this particular movement, for lack of better words. And Randy Fine is one of those little dingleberries that comes from this movement. And he legitimately is way, way out of his league when it comes to being a politician, because the guy is one of the most unhinged, psychotic maniacs we've ever seen. And as I said, he's going to be the gift that keeps on giving, because very, very rarely will we'll ever get somebody as honest about Zionism from a Zionist perspective as Randy Fine. And I didn't know this. I didn't know this until just recently, but Fine is morbidly obese. He's as round as a dang old baseball. And he's one of those guys that's way too online. One of the people the DeSantis presidential run was informed on to the exclusion of more sane, rational viewpoints. He's been in his echo chamber for so long. He's literally looking at 95% of the planet like, you triggered? When he literally celebrates dead babies. Like, you do not need any cultural programming at all to recognize that that's evil. You feel it. It takes an absolute boatload of cultural programming to think that it's good. Not just the cost of doing business, like how Nestle killed 12 million kids, but to think that it's good. It takes a lot of cultural programming to get to that level of cognitive dissonance. Let me tell you. You just look at Alan Dershowitz, and the same instinctual revulsion wells up that Jimmy Savile inspires when you look at him. Because you can tell. And Alan Dershowitz, like Jimmy Savile, spent most of his life abusing children. Literally. That's where Alan Dershowitz got a lot of his capital, his political and legal capital, is by literally attacking victims of the Jeffrey Epstein trafficking ring. Literally attacking the physical victims that escaped the trafficking ring alive, smearing them as if they were whores. That is exactly what Alan Dershowitz, the number one Israeli Netanyahu defender, because that's not being the number one Israel defender, let me tell you that much. Like, you couldn't find better bedfellows Nazis that want to destroy the country than the Netanyahu, Smotrich, Ben-Gvir coalition. Literally couldn't find it. But anyways, nasty, nasty people. Get those out of my mind. Let's talk about something a little bit more beautiful, shall we? Latinas. Latinas are my least favorite women. From a cultural perspective, the mindset of the average Latina is the exact philosophy that created the cartels. It's like Latinas are Muslim men. Now, let me explain. In their smug overconfidence and projection of desire for power, commingled with high levels of violence being socially acceptable. And they are creatures without much innate desire for death and destruction, but who seemingly carry the amphora of pagan Rome on their shoulders. Thus, project violence in domestic situations at a rate significantly higher than any other woman, and some men, especially in like the Northern European, like every Latino woman is more violent than any Scandinavian man. And that's not necessarily a good thing, because like you could be violent as in you got a gun, you got a knife, but your capacity for violence, the ability to enact contracted guerrilla warfare on a faction, the ability to fight uphill, you know, the things that actually involve violence, are completely and utterly dwarfed by anything basically any male can do of your equivalence, size, and health. Completely dwarfed. And so this weird fantasy of violence that Latinas love to indulge themselves in has always disgusted me, in my opinion. Because it's like, that's the person that cares about you the most, and then you're all polite and kind to like strangers outside of your family, and then you're like, you know, brandishing a kitchen knife to your husband. Like, that does not come off well. That does not come off good at all. In fact, Jewish women are significantly nicer than Latinas. I actually had a Jewish woman today, a Jewish girl, like 19 to 23, somewhere around there. Like, look me up and down. Probably could have gotten her number. I get the distinct feeling, you know, I get women checking me out all the time. But it's just like, you know, I live with my parents, so it's like a lot of them wouldn't care if you have good vibes, but it's just like, you know, it's not something I'm in the market for right now. I've had too many ups and downs in my early life, learned a lot of lessons, but unfortunately, like, my foundation is much different than the average male. I'm sure many, many women would actually absolutely love to incorporate me into their household, because I can cook, I can clean, I'm very quiet. I love art, I love sweet smelling stuff, I don't like dirt. I love like the ability for something to show worth and value and beauty without it being like chintzy and gaudy, you know. So style, I got style. I have a modicum of grace, when the fact that I like sweet sounds, good smells. I don't like loud noises. And like, you know, it's not something that I really think about it. For a while, I actually thought I was asexual. Back in like 2020, 2021. I thought I was asexual, like 2019, 2020, 2021. But I just realized that was like the immense, like, I was crushing on a girl when my dog was like about to start dying. I was crushing on a girl really, really hard, and she effectively abandoned me after my dog started to die, and I got really busy with that. But that's neither here nor there. It's my mistake for choosing poorly. But after that, I noticed it was like literally, I like the people on Kiwi farms, the good, kind, decent, sweet, thoughtful, intelligent people on Kiwi farms literally nursed me psychologically back to health. I'm not joking about that, and that's why I say this like every couple of weeks, because it's true. And that's one of the reasons why I like really, really wanted to do good things for the website. I was willing to go to Wyoming, be Null's registered agent, because he made a joke that I guess I didn't interpret as a joke. And nobody else laughed either. I don't even think that he laughed on that one. And frankly, it wasn't that funny. Anyways, Latinas, you know. One could say that if you want to challenge yourself, if you like doing speed runs, if you like doing challenge runs in video games, try dating a Latina woman. You will get the most difficult controller for your game that you could possibly find. You know, Protestant youth pastors are a treasure. Because really, who else is going to say something like, yo, the imitation of Christ is like, it's like getting your ankle broke by somebody whose bike tire you would have pumped up, yo, and still you got to dap them up 7 times. They've done so much to evangelize the youth to Christ, I swear. God bless them. So, let's get into this extremely topical subject that everybody seems to be talking about right now. Jordan Peterson is a good representative of theosophy in a modern context. That good old word that we love to talk about on the show. Theosophy, if you're just tuning in for this episode and no other ones. Theosophy is a toolbox created by Madame Blavatsky that takes all the things from around the world, various religions, various cultures, various philosophies, puts them in the toolbox, takes them out, and then deploys them as needed. It's California philosophy. Right? So, people were debating in Jordan Peterson's thread on whether or not he's a Freemason. But, knowing all that I know, I don't think Freemasonry would be apropos to his particular field of studies. Excuse me. He's a university academic, a modern intellectual, and a defender of modernity, but not progress. Fascinating. From Native American dream art to transhumanist chemical behavioral modification and everything in between, including Disney movies and the Bible. He reaches into his tackle box of globalist studies, studying communism, studying Judaism, studying African religions, studying Native Americans. Just like many Californians before him, slots in whatever piece of another culture, religion, or philosophy he thinks would best fit. That's why he struggles to say whether or not he's a Christian while constantly talking about Christianity from a first-person perspective, is because he's a theosophist that will take Christ as a prophet and a priest and a rebel and utilize him the way that many theosophists do to people who are up on their Zionist studies can explain this much, much more succinctly than I can. But what we've noticed a lot of people, how a lot of people behave, a lot of Zionists behave, is they will try their best to utilize Christ as a tool to move Christians around, as opposed to being instinctually reviled at the concept of a Jewish Messiah already coming and essentially leaving Talmudist Jews out of the new covenant of which Jews converted to early Christianity in order to join. Tons of them. In fact, there is so many that there's honestly factional wars inside of early Christianity revolving around this. But eventually, just like my family, the Matthews family on my father's side, thousands and thousands of years ago, whoever was the patrilineal carrier of that name converted from Matteo over to Rome, from a Jewish tax collector going over to Rome. That's where Matthew went, and then passed his lineage on over and over again, because in the early days, as a Christian, you could have children and be a priest and be a thought leader and stuff like that. It took a while to figure stuff like that out, and eventually they basically figured out that the it's two specific fields. So if you're going to be a doctorate in the spiritual world, you have to forego basically all physicalities, including family. And I get that because, like, I think about this a lot. I have thought about this a lot, and I still think about this. That the less people you have in your life, the better a politician that you are, because the less outside of you and your dedication and your willpower can be grabbed onto. Say you have a huge family and you join politics, Western first world politics, trying to, or even like Latin American politics, right? Trying to make the world a better place, trying to make your country a better place. Your family starts getting kidnapped and tortured, and you start getting fingers in the mail. That's what happens there. And so this is exactly why priests can't, you know, where are the relics, where torture, etc., etc. That's exactly why that ended up being inked into law somewhere along the line. They just figured it out from a pragmatic standpoint that it makes the most sense. But yeah, this is exactly how Californians work, and I would not be surprised to find out that, just like Elon, Jordan Peterson has likely spent a large period of time in California, probably around UCF, Berkeley, stuff like that. That's my guess. I don't really know a lot. I only listen to his lectures. I don't know a lot about the guy's personal life. I tried not to reach too deep into the ad hominem bag when I started to get sick of his crap, which literally only happened during October 7th. I was signed up to the Jordan Peterson Academy, watching almost every single one of his videos. Signed up to Jordan Peterson Academy before October 7th, and his response to that, which is like, I myself took the side of Israel after October 7th. But the way that people behaved and responded to that is so out of line with anything I've ever read throughout any of history, and the way that morally, objectively moral behavior should be. And so this is the exact process that, when taken to its extreme, creates things like SS soul sanctums and the state of Israel building a new temple. And this is why California professors can do Kundalini yoga in the morning and then go teach a child psychology course at noon. Theosophy is a very important concept, as it is a crucible in which one with creative inclinations can Mr. Potato Head a new religion out of parts, and we live in its wake. Most progressives have a theosophical, cultural pathology in their head, especially militant atheists. The militant atheists have a theosophical cultural pathology in their head. They genuinely think that theosophists using parts of Christianity is representative of the whole of Christianity, just as many people think that theosophists and anthroposophists, especially when it comes to things like Nazis and Zionists, anthroposophy, which is like Dungeons and Dragons attributions of race, like permanent ascribing of race to certain characteristics, that Israeli theosophists and anthroposophists speaking on behalf of all Jews is representative of all Jews. Naturally, it's not. You pray for all the Jews. This is something that we do in traditional Catholicism. We pray for the Jews to convert. But the Jews aren't the only one that are perfidious. Albion is perfidious, and we all know it. Everybody in the West basically knows it. The Spanish know it. They've, been up and down. And unfortunately, the Netherlands, they're such good people, but taken advantage of. Quite literally taken advantage of. The Netherlands was at its best when they were owned by Spain. And you know what? It ain't whites on bikes or blacks on crack. It's wing gnats, Jack. Simple as. All right, y'all. Probably gone long for today, but it's been fun. It's been a fun episode. Hope everybody has a good one. No, good length for the episode. Alrighty then. All right, y'all. Take care. Cheers.